What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Big 12 Newsletter Houston edition. I am your host, Garrett Ross. Make sure you go over to 365sports.video where you can sign up for our newsletter, and we will have that into your email box on Wednesday afternoons around lunchtime. We'll have that for you. But as we get into this weekend, if you're Houston, you shouldn't be surprised about how anything unfolded on Saturday. Going into this matchup, you knew Texas Tech was a juggernaut. When it comes to Big 12 standards. I think that the Red Raiders right now have the best chance to give representation for this conference and make a push towards the national championship. I don't know that they necessarily can win the national championship, but they give the conference the best shot of making a push there. So if you're Houston, you got to feel pretty good about how your defense held up in this matchup. You lost 35-11. You gave up over 500 yards of total offense, but at the same time, your defense bent and it didn't totally break. There were some flaws in the system, but more importantly, your offense was going to be what hindered you in this game. We've talked about it all year long about how the Cougs have struggled to put up points. And when you look at the defensive front and what Texas Tech has established, it was going to be difficult to move the ball against them. And it was one where your running game never really got established. If you look at what Texas Tech was able to do defensively against Houston, it was really remarkable. They put up some ridiculous numbers, but Houston couldn't get anything established there. And unfortunately, Dean Connors couldn't get rolling. Your best rusher and your leading rusher on the team, ironically, was Zeon Chris with 59 yards on 7 carries. And that's not what you want to see. Connor Wigman gets banged up in the second quarter. He was trying to convert a 4th down there. And it really sucked because that was a situation heading into this game where that was my biggest concern was when you look at Texas Tech's defensive line and how brutal they are, was Houston going to be able to match that intensity in the trenches? And I just wasn't comfortable with that situation because to me, that's been one of the biggest weaknesses of this Houston team is the camaraderie and the established dominance in the trenches along the offensive line. They've been good, but they haven't been great. They've battled some injuries there. They've struggled at times to get a push. And I think that's kind of what hindered into Houston's offense being not able to really consistently create big plays. And we've touched and harped on that all year long about how they've got to be able to finally score with some of these teams if they want to compete. And that was just a bad matchup for Houston. The quarterbacks were destroyed. Connor Wigman gets hurt on that play. And listening to the TV broadcast, I thought it was worse than what it really was because they were mentioning possibilities of collarbone. And if you're Houston, that's the last thing you want to see is Connor Wigman get hurt with a season-ending injury. But positive notes are it's a concussion. While you don't want a concussion, that's compared to a broken collarbone that could put you out for the year. I think you'll take that all day long. And Willie Fritz addressed it this week. He said that Connor Wigman is trending towards playing this weekend against Oklahoma State. I personally would not play Connor Wigman. I think when you look at Oklahoma State, that it doesn't matter if you're starting Zeon Chris or you're starting Connor Wigman, you should be able to beat the Pokes. The Pokes are just really bad. And they're also in a quarterback situation where interim head coach Doug Meacham said he doesn't expect Zane Flores to participate this week. So they're probably going to be rolling a 3rd-string quarterback against Houston's really stout defense. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Cougs just kind of sat back and let Wigman take this week off. You roll with Chris. I think that Chris could put up some bigger numbers against Oklahoma State's defense. There's really not much there to be threatened by. I think he can throw for over 100 yards in this game. I think he could really do some damage on the ground against the Pokes defense. But I want to see more of the guys. I want to see Dean Connors and Burnett and all of these guys come together and put together a consistent play from the rushing attack because I think you need to establish that and dominate and set that tone against Oklahoma State this weekend. But I also think this is a situation where if you're Tanner Koziel, you're Amari Thomas, you're some of these receivers, you need to be able to show that you can flash and you should be able to make some big plays against this Oklahoma State defense. Now, as far as this matchup goes, 22nd meeting all time between Houston and Oklahoma State. 10-1 is where it stands overall. Oklahoma State's coming off a weekend where they were just obliterated by Arizona 41-13. And then kind of looking ahead, if you're Houston, I think you should feel confident. You should get this win here. And looking at your schedule, there's really not much to be threatened by. If you're Houston, I think you got your 1 win right now in conference play over Colorado. I think you get your 2nd one this week against Oklahoma State. Then you have Arizona that's going to roll into town. That's one where I'm talking about, like, you've got to be able to match point for point, because while your defense is good, you're not going to be able to stop Arizona from scoring. Same thing applies when you look at Arizona State the following week. West Virginia, I think that's one that Houston can win right now. Their offense really isn't explosive at all. It's going to be a rock fight. I like Houston's chances in that one. UCF, you know what you're going to get with UCF. These two have been battling out for quite some time right now. I think Houston's better than them. But when you look at the last 2 games of the year, TCU and Baylor, both of those teams, while they're not playing to the best of their ability, their offenses are explosive, and Houston's going to have to, regardless of how good your defense is, you're going to have to be able to score at least 28 to 31 points, in my opinion, to stay competitive in those games and get the win. So there's an opportunity for you to roll out this weekend, get another win in conference play, and continue to carry this momentum. I like Houston in this matchup. I don't think it should be a problem for the Cougs to go up to Stillwater and get the dub, and then kind of shift that focus forward as you look at the rest of your schedule going on through Big 12 play. But that's going to do it for this week. Kickoff is set for 11 a.m. from Boone Pickens Stadium. The game will be aired on TNT. Go check that out. Until next time, I'm Garrett Ross. Peace.